So we're in the Eastern Cape, this place to be specific. And we're looking at a church, not just any church, a Dutch Reformed church. A building so beautiful, so captivating, one could easily mistake it for a cathedral in Scotland, or a cathedral in ancient Africa, which there are many shown on the oldest maps, pre-colonial maps which we discuss on this channel frequently. So was this building truly constructed by pioneers, fighting their way through savage lands during the intense build-up to the First Boer War? Or was it found, repurposed, and rewritten into the colonial narrative? Let's get into it. Before we dive in, I want to thank our sponsors, Kanyiso Matebi, Grangles, Viral Machine, Sipo Spitz Lamini, Z Kumalo, Ricky D, and Megan Viljoen. You're all rock stars and helping this channel out a lot. Thank you. If you want to feature your name here, just check the description, make a donation, drop whatever name you want in the reference, and we'll feature it here. I started making this content because I began noticing something off. Fragments of an older world peeking through the cracks. A world our mainstream historians pretend not to see or are outright told to ignore. Look around. We don't build like we used to. We don't craft with pride anymore. Everything today is disposable, rushed, cheap, and we're supposed to call that progress? No. That's decline packaged as convenience. We are not the same civilization we once were. Somewhere along the way, we lost independence, sovereignty, self-reliance, the things that actually make a people strong. So here, right now, we draw a line. If you believe in uncovering Africa's true legacy, if you believe in independent history, free from gatekeepers and corporate filters, then stand with us. Become a sponsor. Help us build something real again. Because reclaiming our past is the first step to fixing our future. Straight off the bat, we're fed the same tired story they use for every suspicious old world building, which is, this isn't the first church on this site. Apparently the first one was built in 1792, and then conveniently burned down 7 years later. 12 months after that, boom, the second church magically appears in the year 1800. Almost like they had the blueprints ready before the ashes cooled. But it gets better. 22 years later, they tear it down. All that hard labor? Gone. Why? To build a third one, which also pops up in just 12 months. What is it with these people in demolishing buildings only to rebuild them in record time? It's not a timeline, it's an anomaly. Then this third building lasts just over 60 years before surprise demolition number 3 in 1885. And this time they replace it with the fourth, the one standing today. On the 12th April 1886, the foundation stone was laid for the fourth and existing church, with the inaugural sermon delivered on the 11th September 1887. 17 months. 17 months to build this thing in a town with fewer than 2,500 people. Sure, totally normal. So who built it and how? Here's where the story really starts getting interesting. Nobody actually seems to know who the architect was. Sources differ on the architect, and in some the name of Charles Freeman is mentioned as if he were the architect of this late Victorian masterpiece. But more sources point to James Bissett, born in Scotland in 1835 and apparently the busiest man alive. In 1858, he sails into Cape Town at 23 years old to build the Wellington Railway. By 1861, he's also engineer for the Greenpoint Tramway Company, two major positions at once. Then, he gets married in 1862, and in the same year leaves the railway company and opens his own architectural and engineering practice in Cape Town. So railways, trams, skyscrapers, marriage, and an architectural office, all before he turns 30. What a champ. 3 years later, in 1865, he resigns from the Greenpoint Tramway Company and continues his architectural career in Cape Town until he's appointed harbor engineer in Port Elizabeth in 1871. Is this guy for real? From railways to major buildings to naval engineering, back to railways, and then, miraculously, he pops back up to build our church. I don't buy it. It's a cover story. The official line is always, people just worked harder back then. Sorry, but no. I really don't buy it. I think Bissa is a fictional character, a convenient placeholder used to claim the remains of an older world, a world evidently shown on the oldest maps of Africa. And that lines up perfectly with what we don't have. No construction photos. None. Not one. But we do have a nice clean photo of the opening ceremony in 1887. Convenient. A photographer magically shows up the day it opens, but no photographer was present during 17 months of construction? Another anomaly. We also have an undated photo showing the church completely surrounded by mud. No roads. Everyone knows the rule. Roads first, buildings after. Unless the buildings were already there. This exact pattern appears in hundreds of old photos across southern Africa. Advanced structures sitting in mud like they were excavated, not built. So let's ask the obvious question. How exactly did this tiny town with no more than 2,500 locals and no power tools, no hardware stores, no supply chains, build a 1,500-seat architectural masterpiece? The mainstream narrative tells us that the community built it themselves, using stone from a nearby quarry in Adendorp, right? Apparently it came from this field here. If you're local and you could get some pictures of these two sites to drop in the comments, that'd be cool. The cost of the building materials was kept as low as possible, and the local community provided the stones and the transport of the stones to the church. It also goes on to say that the stone was already cut into the desired shapes at the quarry and then transported to the building site. So we're supposed to believe that the stone was already cut into perfect blocks at the quarry by unnamed, undocumented stonemasons who magically appear, cut thousands of stones, and then vanish from the historical record. Then the community, the same 2,500 people, simply carried all these ready-made stones to the site for Mr. Bissett to assemble the church. This is just crazy. How many of those 2,500 people were children? How many were not laborers? How many were unfit to work due to fighting off the wild African tribes and preparing for the upcoming Boer War? The official narrative continues. All the carpentry and woodwork for the entire building was made in Port Elizabeth, then brought to the church building site by ox wagon. Here they were assembled and mounted, and somehow everything fit together perfectly. Sure, because nothing says primitive 1800s logistics like shipping massive precision-made wooden beams over 250 kilometers across the Karoo, using horses and wagons and having them all line up flawlessly on arrival. Apparently the workers didn't just work hard, their horses worked miracles too. 7 years after the building was complete, they could afford an organ and purchased this one to be installed. I don't buy it. The organ looks as if it was made for this building specifically, like it was constructed with the building by a previous civilization, one that understood sacred geometry, acoustics, and harmonics better than we ever will. If anyone could get more details on this organ, who designed it, how or where it was built, let us know. So, what do you think? Was this Dutch Reformed church built by the pioneers on horseback while fighting off African tribes and preparing for the Boer War? Or was it found, repurposed, and rewritten into the colonial narrative? Let us know in the comments. We got lots more coming, and we're moving it all to YouTube. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share it with your friends. Stay tuned. You'll be hearing from us again soon.